everybody. This is the Wild Ass PodcASSt, and I am your host, Wild Ass Craig. This is episode 20, and in this episode, I get to introduce all of you to Rob Buydos. Rob is a guy you may have heard of before. He's the voice of all of the Parts Unlimited and Drag Specialties events. If you've been to an AMA Pro Motocross National in the last couple decades, you'll recognize Rob's voice. He's the creator of Pit Bike Racing and most recently, the Bagger Racing League. I've been fortunate to know this guy since the late 1900s, and I have to tell you, it's my honor to introduce all of you to my friend Rob Buydos. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Wild Ass Craig. It's an honor to be here.
This excites me, and it makes me nervous at the same time, because you're a whole lot more experienced behind a microphone than I am.
Oh, I tell you what, first time I met you, I remember we did a little go-kart race, I think, out in Orange County, and I thought you were fine behind the microphone then, and then you showed your motorcycle industry chops by not only finding a company, but taking part in one of the gnarliest things I've ever heard, the Hoka Hey, and here we are on the show. So I guess I'm the one that's honored to be on the show with you.
Thank you. I was going to ask if you remembered the first time we met, because you're exactly right. I couldn't remember where it was, though. I knew it was a go-kart event.
We were in Anaheim, California. It was Parts Unlimited Le Mans Corporation over at the kind of the Anaheim hospitality area. And Factory Effects had a go-kart race, and Mike Ego, and we think who won it. I want to think that, oh gosh, who was it? Dean Heron, I think, won it.
Yeah, I don't remember who won it, but I used to have the timesheets because some of the riders that were there, they were motocross riders that were there, and I had faster time than one of them, and that was like my pride and joy forever was to carry, have that timesheet sitting on my desk when I worked at Parts Unlimited, like, I'm faster than that guy.
See?
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, so you remember that. That's cool. For those of you that,
sure.
Which most people have never heard this story, we had not met each other. We're both up there with microphones, and I'm like trying to help you announce because I announced at my track here, and it was like, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, now I know who you are.
Well, there was you, there was Kyle Hall. There was a bunch of announcers in the Le Mans Corporation at that time.
There was, and we all had a good time everywhere we went together as well.
Absolutely. Still do.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited for this show because I get to flip the roles on you a little bit. Every time we see you, you have the microphone and you are getting the person you're talking to, you're getting their story. Well, this time, now I get to make this show all about you.
Wow, thanks. That sounds awesome.
To start off, tell us about your family. I know you're married.
Yep, got a beautiful wife, 18-year-old going on 30-year-old daughter. And we live in beautiful Boardman, Ohio, and Pittsburgh Airport seems to be my second home as I find myself there often, coming and going.
18-year-old daughter, I didn't realize she was that old already.
Yep, driving, and she's she's something else.
It happens fast, doesn't it?
She's got plans. She's got big plans.
Yeah, that's cool. How did you get into motorcycles?
I mean, I was just a little guy and, kind of grew up in a neighborhood where a lot of people had motorcycles. And so it wasn't that taboo. You could easily make an argument to your parents, look out the window. There's, 8, 9 guys riding. So to get a bike when I was pretty young, and my mom, really, my dad was an over-the-road truck driver. So he wasn't home many weekends. But my mom loved, whether it was water skiing, snowmobiling, motorcycling, loved it. So it wasn't hard to talk her into loading up the van and going out to, motocross, supercross. Well, not so much supercross back then. Motocross, flat track, a little bit of night motocross, hair scrambles, things like that.
That's cool.
And she'd load up the truck and take us and, kind of knew her way around the race scene pretty well.
That's awesome. Normally it's the opposite of that. It's dad taking everybody. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, my dad was into cars. He liked cars. Motorcycles were okay, but he really liked cars. My mom thought cars were okay, but really liked, again, motorcycles, water skiing. She loved all that kind of stuff, Like, she was really the adventurous one of the group. If it kind of wasn't for her, I for sure wouldn't have got a motorcycle as young as I did. I think I probably eventually would have got one, but she's the one that took me, we went up to the motorcycle store, and it was a lawnmower store, actually. They were pull start mini bikes back then.
Okay.
It was the Rob mini bike, and she was the one went up. We got to have one. Let's go.
The little Rupp. So that was your first bike?
First bike. We went to a pro hill climb, and they had an intermission, a kids race. Transmissions, meaning like a mini trail, Honda.
Okay.
And if you didn't have gears, you were in that class. And the ones with no gears, pull start, I got a second first time out of the gate. That was my show and tell trophy from like kindergarten to like second or third grade, wheeling that thing in.
Was it a hill climb then? Like, did you have to climb
No,
a hill with it?
We were at a hill climb. The race was down at the base of the hill, at intermission.
Okay.
Just, round couple. Actually, back then, literally, it was around a couple of trash cans, and there was no real. It was, just an intermission kids race.
Just to keep the kids occupied, keep them involved.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember the race. The guy, 1969, and the guy actually had a megaphone, not a electric powered thing, a megaphone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What bikes did you have after that? Do you remember the progression of motorcycles?
Sure. Oh God, yeah. So we went from that, and then like as soon as we got done with that thing, so this was the end of the very end of the '60s, beginning of the '70s. So the mini bikes were like a whole year, maybe two, and then real quick, my dad brought my dad was bringing home, so he's truck driver, so he's bouncing around, running. He brings home a Trail 70, and that's like mine for a minute. My mom likes it a lot. Then we go to the XR 75s. Then it was a bad move on my part. I was complaining I wanted a two-stroke, so he brought me home Chaparrals. You remember those?
I don't.
Well, there's not a lot of people that do, but so I went from an XR 75 to Chaparrals because they were two-strokes. Was not the right move. Those lasted a pretty short period of time. Then went to YZ80s, and then Kawasaki had an RM100, and, the rest goes on and on from there. Then a bunch of 250s, and just finishing up a build right now. I was just at the AMA Museum, and I saw one of my bikes that's still on display there as the Ron Lachine bike, and I'm just finishing up the Yamaha with the help from the gang at MotoZilly right now, and that should be done pretty soon.
You have a bike in the Hall of Fame?
Well, it's not a Rob Buydos bike. It's a Ron Lachine bike, but
okay.
Yes, I do.
Well, that's awesome. Give us your race.
I mean, it's really badass,
Yeah. So give us your racing history then, because those aren't all trail bikes.
Racing history was, local stuff. My mom's deal was, it was whatever was closest. I mean, flat track, motocross, hairspray, didn't matter because we had probably about 4 or 5 tracks an hour or less from the house. And it was literally which one was closest. So you could have raced 2 motocrosses in a row, been doing good, and the hair scramble was 30 minutes away, and the motocross was an hour. We're going to the hair scramble.
So then that would make you a pretty well-rounded motorcyclist.
I always like riding motorcycles, so it really, hair scrambles are fun. Motocross is maybe a little more sexy. The flat track was really different, just different. But, I got to experience them all. That was one of my mom's big things, like I said, was that even my sister knows how to drive a stick shift car. She knows how to ride a motorcycle. You don't have to do it as a job, but you're going to know how to do it. She knows how to water ski, things like that,
Sure.
Then if you choose to pursue it, awesome.
Yeah. Well, all those.
But you'll at least know how to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And all those different genres of motorcycling definitely make you a better motorcyclist all the way around. It may not make you the fastest of any, but you can do all of it.
If you've gone off a jump, you know what that sensation feels like. If you've hit something on the track that kind of deflects the front wheel, whether it be a rock or in the off-road, a branch or a stump or something, you kind of, it's not that you're like, you want that to happen, but if it does, you at least have a plan A on maybe what to do,
Yeah, you don't even think about it anymore, probably, even to this day.
No, it helps. It definitely helps. I mean, if as much as you can ride anything, you're going to get better at doing it. So if anyone out there, what's the thing to become a pro? 10,000 hours or something like that?
I think it is. It's 10,000. Yeah, I think you're right. It's 10,000 hours.
You have to devote like 10,000 hours to it, and I mean, I started when I was young, and I just still enjoy we just went for a ride just this past week. Just a group of guys, no rhyme or reason, just go for a ride.
What type of riding were you doing this weekend? Or
this weekend we were at the AMA Hall of Fame. It was actually like Thursday, just Harley riding, just some friends. We went out as back roady as we could and found a nice little place to have some lunch, and then tried to take a completely different way and get lost on the way home. Just that kind of stuff.
Sure. What are you riding today? Like, what's your ride now?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I have kind of too many.
I was going to get to that. What all do you have in your stable? I was going to get to what all do you have in your stable?
Road glides, FXRs, things like that.
Okay.
I had some really cool sport bikes back in the day, got rid of those. The dirt bikes are mostly classic, couple pit bikes, stuff like that.
But the Road Glide's your cruiser?
Yeah, I mean, when we got into when I started the Bagger Racing League, it was because I was even doing my bikes differently. When I started customizing Harleys in the early 90s, it was take what you have, slam it on the ground, take off one of the front brakes so you could showcase the front wheel. Don't stop, just look cool.
Right.
And if you did do the motor, it was put a cam and some stuff in it. No one put the chain drive because you didn't want to put chain lube all over your back wheel and shit like that, stuff like that. And, so you just kind of chrome stuff and paint and stuff and things like that, powder coat. And then when they started, making them taller, a little more gangly, I'm like, man, you're going to need to show why you do that by going to the track. Going to a bike show is not going to probably be its best friend,
Yeah,
Let's go
sure.
showcase. This is the first genre of customization. You think about if we do World War II, guys were coming home and taking the front fender, the front brake, cutting the back fender. The bikes didn't ride better and they weren't safer. They just looked cooler,
Mm-hmm.
Then you went in the choppers, again, way not really good at handling, didn't stop well, weren't great for corners, but had a look about them. Now the bikes turn better, stop better, go faster, are more ergonomically correct. It's actually the first time that the custom bike world's ever made a better bike. Rather than go, oh, the thing doesn't turn or stop, but man, does it look cool? It's like this thing turns, stops, corners, accelerates, brake, you name it, it does it at a really high level.
They're showing all of that now in the Bagger Racing League, which is something I do want to get to.
Okay.
Before that, I wanted to find out kind of your history, career-wise. How did you get to...
My first motorcycle shop, 1980s. Rest in peace. He's a bad dude. Phil Andrews and Russ Hain, both of them. Andrew Cycles, Canfield, Ohio. They had Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki. They were, when you look back, they were way ahead of their time. Buying deep and selling cheap and working on finance, extended warranties, and just doing great things. So they gave me a big chance. I went to work for JT Racing as a road rep then. Then I got a job at Dr. Jerry's Harley Davidson, and the Herbosky family was incredible to me. He sold it. I was there for a bit, went to Pro Action Racing with George Quay and those guys, and that's how I really did all the nationals and really got immersed into the real pro motocross scene at a deep level. We were part of the NPG and all that, and left there, went back to Youngstown Harley Davidson, was there, and then late 99, it was like 2000, maybe it was February 14th of 2000, the Le Mans Corporation came calling, went there. I'm still working with them I'll be at an event this week in the drag specialties, dealer ride, and NVPs and all those kind of things. And then started doing a lot of stuff on my own. I've been doing pro motocross announcing and things like that since early 2000. The Bagger Racing League started about 3 years ago. And, here we are in the off season, just ramping up for what we're going to do next year.
Yeah, everybody just getting ready for next year. Is the pit bike racing, you're still doing that?
Yeah, we just did that at the Motocross of Nations. The Pit Bike of Nations, if you go on YouTube, you go to Pit Bike of Nations 2022, there's a couple different videos that have been put out from England and different places like that, and it was incredibly well received. The weather was amazing. The guys at Redbud built us the coolest track, and Thor sponsored it 100%. We had Bevo down the line and just all that stuff. Mitch Payton made all the pipes for us, and yeah, it was unbelievable. 13 countries, best 3 riders in America came out on top with a 1-2-1 finish.
That's pretty solid. How did that ever start?
First year we did it, they went 1-1-1. This year, Brian Villapoto actually got a second to a fellow from France, but
Okay.
Then Carson Brown and Willie Browning rallied with 2 wins, so pretty hard to beat that score.
That is. How did pit bike racing ever start? How did you ever get that started?
So we were doing it. There was a local guy, my man, Nippy Nug, and we raced around his house, but never till like 2 or 3 in the morning. Then we all bought him, so we had him, and we were at Steel City Motocross National, and Rita Coombs and a couple of the other folks were like, hey, we need to do something for the crowd. And I'm like, I got this idea. We'll bring in these pit bike racers. And they go, pit bikes are legal. I'm like, exactly. But if you dedicate a time that they are legal and you showcase them with some pretty high-end athletes, people will watch it. So we had Sean Palmer and a couple guys like that at the first one race, Trevor Vines and on and on and on. And sure enough, the people really found it intriguing and interesting. And from there, we did it at nationals for years. And then it kind of faded away, but we brought it back with the Motocross of Nations. And now we've got some plans for 23 with that are going to be pretty badass too.
That's cool. So when you say pit bikes are illegal, explain that statement, because
Well,
I don't think everybody
them,
knows that.
They were always thought of, if you let these guys ride around on them, especially at night, they're going to just ride crazy and be nuts and whatever. So forever, and this is from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, you just don't bring them. If you don't bring them, then you can't be mad that someone's got one and you don't. So when we did it, it was like, wait, pit bikes. And then I had to deal with them. If they caught us 10 minutes before the event or 10 minutes after the event, arrest us. It was like, that's not us. We're right at the event, and then we go, and then we put them away,
Yeah, I remember, from the track days, people that brought their pit bikes were always the cause of the trouble, and not the same
you got to
group.
wheelie for a mile if you can,
Well, yeah, that's what they're built for.
And you can, so,
How did you become the voice of the Pro Nationals?
That's pretty funny. So Dave Coombs, right?
Senior.
Okay. We're at a race, and at the time, Western Reserve Motorcycle Club, that I'm a lifetime member of, I was announcing races out there. We all had to have a job, even if you raced. When you weren't racing, you had the flag or work in the concession stand or the water truck or do the starting gate or whatever. So, announcing to me seemed to be like the next logical thing to do, so that's what I was doing. Local area, word kind of spreads a little bit, and we were at High Point. And if you remember way back in the day, the way motocross worked was there was amateur racing, and then on Saturday, about halfway through the day, they switched gears. They did some pro practice, and then they did the first round of qualifiers.
Yep.
And that smacked the field down a little bit. And then the second day, which would be Sunday, they'd have a bit of practice and a final qualifier, and then you'd actually have the two motos for the two classes. Anyhow, on the Saturday, the one fellow that was announcing was still riding a little bit of, like, he just wanted to ride, national weekend. He wanted to ride. He was in one of the age group classes, and he went out. So when he went out, he said, hey, go up and announce till I get back. And I did. And, back then you went and parked your bike in the pits, and then you had to kind of walk back. It was all a little bit of a chore. So I probably had, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 minutes of uninterrupted just me.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I was done, Big Dave Coombs said, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, well, it sounds like you're announcing. So I'll see you tomorrow, 8 o'clock, da-da-da. Kind of like that.
Just throw you the microphone.
And it went, and back then it was like, if there wasn't a solid group of them, and there became one. And as I was working with Parts Unlimited, they're like, hey, you're here, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. You want to do this? I'm like, sure. So that's how it worked out. It's been quite a while now.
Oh, and it's great. It's always cool. I haven't been to a Pro National in a long time because of the way the schedules work out now. But I remember the last time walking into Millville, hearing your voice over the PA going, wait, I know that guy. It's pretty cool.
The place that's really amazing is Daytona, because the PA system there is set up for NASCAR. So 20 dirt bikes, it sounds like, the voice of God when you boom through that thing.
So that's the Supercross night.
That's Supercross. I do. That's the only Supercross I do.
Yep, and I've heard you there. The Daytona Supercross to me is probably the coolest one. It's so hard to see anything because, by the time we get there, because we're all vending up north, by the time we get there, seats are way up at the top. But it reminds me of the days where we used to do Faircross. That makes sense?
Similar, huh?
Yeah, it's very, because, the announcer, like you say, it's set up differently so you can hear you coming from every direction. It's a whole different vibe. If anybody gets a chance to go to that Supercross, I would recommend it. I love that one.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So you're announcing for 23 still?
Yeah, I think so.
They haven't told you otherwise?
Unless you've heard anything different,
Nope. Nope. Another thing I wanted to ask you about that probably hasn't been in a while, but the Moto Fight Club. Tell us about that.
All right. So COVID hits, right? And everyone's at home. Everyone. We don't care if you have a job, if you're an athlete, everybody's at home,
Right.
And no one really knew how to come back to work. And I was watching a lot of the, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to attempt to do it. And I'm like, all right. So it sounds like, what I'm hearing is they want small groups of people to do it, and they don't want a crowd. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So I said, I guess the word Rolodex was lost upon some generations of people, but phone book, there are phone that has some contacts in it. So it started with Brian Villapoto, then it went to Kevin Windham, then it went to Travis Pastrana, then it went to Jake Weimer. And we're calling these guys going, look, if you come here and we race here and no one can know about it, we can't have a crowd, we can't have this, we can't have that. So we were the first motorsport to happen post-lockdown, I guess. And it was in Youngstown, Ohio. And then we did flat track racing, and we did a wrestling event with some Olympian guys, and we did a pit bike race and a bunch of things during COVID. And once the COVID restrictions were lifted and people were going back to major events again, those things we just re-implemented it back into events, you know?
Yeah. Will they come back?
We'll see. I mean, I'm somebody that likes to come up with things that I don't like to do. Well, back in the 50s, the stuff I come up with, no one's ever done.
Right.
You know, Harley Davidson's been a motorcycle company since 1903, so 119 years, right?
Yep.
And Bagger Racing's 3 years old.
Yeah, so let's
back in the 70s,
let's talk about
they
that.
Have that bells out there. Never, ever, ever were they ever on a road racetrack.
Right.
You know, and then when we did it, so that's new. The Pit Bike of Nations. Pit Bike of Nations is 75 years old. It's been done twice. That was me. You know, it's not like the things I'm doing, everyone has been doing. Nope. I like to come up with things that are highly unique.
That prompts
and
the question.
I got some more ideas up.
Yeah, I was going to say that prompts the question.
Look for some more things coming.
I will. But it prompts the question, where do these ideas come from?
Airplanes and cars. We work so far away from these events, and you just have hours to think. And, you know, anymore, it's not polite to talk to people on an airplane. You might give them cooties. So you just sit there in your own brain and come up with and I've had a weird seat. When you're the announcer, you're standing next to the most important person there usually. You know, the celebrity racer, the president of the company, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you see all the eyes on him. So I'm usually in the front of the room. If there's 5 people or 500 people in the room, they're all looking in the same direction. And I see when things are said or done that get these people to go, oh, man. And then there's other stuff. They're like, who the hell cares? So I try to use that experience as to go, you know what? People get excited about this type of experience. So try to come up with something that gives them that, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, you know, like I've kind of said it to some other people and some other stuff, like me and you and people in the industry that we know right now. I mean, we didn't invent it. And 100 years from now, it's going to be other people. It's just our job to try to do stuff to make it better so that when we're not here, it has a stronger foothold, you know?
Sure.
We're like the caretakers, so to speak, you know? It's all we can do, you know? You just kind of do with it. Try not to hurt it. Try to help it grow. Give it strong roots and, you know, hope the next generations do the same. I think they will. Motorcycles instill a lot of passion in people, you know?
That's for sure. Let's talk about the Bagger Racing League. That's 3 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, again, tell how that started. I happen to know this story a little bit.
No,
so
I mean, like I said,
I'd love you to share it.
We're not being slammed to the ground. They were being raised up and then extra raised up, going 2 over, you know, on the front forks. And not in the chopper mode, by de-raking the front end and raising it, you were getting more ground clearance. They're trying to, everyone, the bags are going to hit. No, the primary's going to hit. That sticks out way far. So now the big thing is sucking in the primary. And then the gear changes. And then once you went to much taller shocks, the chain become a thing, how to keep it on the, you know, with all the chain tensioners and stuff. You know, how to make the brakes work, how to get the transmissions all strong enough. Just all these things. Well, as they were doing it, the bikes became less show bikey and more kind of race bike. And I'm like, let's just go to the track. So we got some people agreed to let us head up to Laguna Seca, and we did it. People went nuts over it. And now we're trying to put together a series where we just showcase Harley Davidson's and Indians road race. We know that the BMWs and Aprilias and Ducatis and Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, they've had race series for them forever. And there's still plenty, and they're top shelf the series they can go compete in. But for just the Harley and the Indian group, we wanted to give them something, you know, the vendor rows kind of for them, the stunt shows are for them, the bike shows are for them. It's, you know, kind of like, hey, we're going to celebrate you at the racetrack, you know?
Yeah. You've had it for 2 years or 3 years now?
We just finished our second year. We're at the start of our third year coming up.
That's what I thought. So in 2 years, that's a very short period of time, but it's motorcycles and it's racing. What has the evolution been in such a short time of how these bikes have changed in just 2 years?
The very first time we went out, everyone was still, they were still thinking the motor's a big important part, which it has importance, but not the most. Durability of it's the most. Everyone was still searching for the right brakes, the right suspension. Now they're fine. Now they have it, but now it's the fine tuning,
Okay.
and then it's finding the riders that could give back the information, on something that the bikes aren't squirrely. They're pretty stable, but there's definitely a lot more technology coming that's going to make them a lot more durable. The aftermarket's moving real fast on this. The guys at Fueling, Alloy Art, Sly Fox, Bassani, Clockworks, they make a great windshield that helps these things. The Saddleman seat guys, what they come up with, the guys from Speed Merchant, the Trask crew. I mean, all these people are just coming up with amazing things that are changing real fast.
With all that change,
initially 12-inch shocks for long. Now they're 14 and probably going towards 15.
No kidding.
In the back,
Yeah, that's crazy. But all these changes are only going to make for safer bikes on the road as well.
Well, you think about it. If you go from a 13-inch Ultra Shock down to an 11-inch and you expect it to ride the same, that's a tall order to ask. You put, I don't know, everything about these bikes just makes sense.
So cool. And same thing, these events always happen when we're at events, so I never get to come and watch them.
Yeah, no, we're looking on a schedule where we might be able to have some vendors come to the track. We have some, but even bring more. Once we piggyback off a big event, most of them are at the bigger Harley shop destinations, and there's no question why. But if we could find some times that work for everybody, I think it'd be great to have the vendors come out and really spend some time one-on-one with the customers, outside. And I think that's where business gets done.
Yeah, for sure. 2023, do you have a schedule written or you're working on it now?
Now we're working on today. We were on the call. There's some of the tracks we've worked with that are super interested. We have a couple new ones that are real interested. So we're going to try to do our due diligence to come up with one that makes sense travel-wise, time of the year-wise, all those things, so that, we could bring them a pretty good experience. And then we're probably going to do some double headers at the different rounds. So that'll be good too.
When you talk about doing your due diligence, what are you looking for in a location?
We're looking for the infrastructure. We want to make sure there's a place for, a lot of our riders and things make the big travel. So we want to make sure there's that. We think it's good that the motorcycling community, the dealership level, hopefully we can get in there prior to the event, talk to them, maybe even have them set up as open houses and things for it. We were real lucky up in Milwaukee. The Open Road Harley Davidson up in Fond du Lac and Suburban Harley both had, bikes on display at their shop. And so that helps because the parts guys, the service guys, they're all talking to their customers going, hey, are you going to go check this out? And, that's the part that's been a little bit unique. A lot of these Harley dealers have road race, mostly on XRs, Buells, 883s, but, they're talking to their customers now about, swing arms, chain conversions, cam chests and titanium exhausts and crazy stuff,
Sure.
They're talking about knocking 250 pounds off of the bike.
That's just crazy. It's stuff that I guess, most of us would just take for granted because in every other form of racing, it's been going on forever, where in the baggers and in the Harley world, it's still new.
Well, they've never invited them, every time they did go racing, it was always with the Sportster. And they're like, hey, what about like our FXR class, which is Softails, FXRs, Dynas, the Indian Chief. That's one of our biggest classes, the NAM's Big Twin. 22 riders isn't uncommon in that class.
How many go out at a time? Like how many guys you putting on the track?
We haven't reached the 40 would be the limit. We haven't reached that. You know what I mean?
Yep. Factory support.
20 some is a big class for us.
Okay. Where do people go find information on this if they want to come and see it?
Well, we have the Facebook, of course, Bagger Racing League. We have the Instagram, Bagger Racing League. A lot of people refer to us as the BRL. We have our website, baggerracingleague.com. See the rules, the points from last year, a group of our sponsors, a group of our racers. A lot of it's been really good. There's some real interesting individuals that are obviously doing this. Guys all the way from Ben Wostrom down to like Patricia Fernandez, who's, an amazing racer in her own right. And then her fiance, I guess, husband coming up here, Corey West. Then you move into like guys like Arnie Wells, who's just the salt of the earth guy. Steve Chamberlain, great guy, rides his bike to the races sometimes.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, I mean, Pistol Pete's out there, a dealer. I believe he's up in Minnesota, and he makes the drive to just about it. I think he got perfect attendance this year. He didn't miss any race.
Wow. As Minnesotans, we're dedicated. We don't get all year to ride,
That's it. That's it.
Let's see. Just looking through my notes, I think I touched on everything that I just had jotted down to chat with you about. Is there anything I'm missing? Something else you want to talk about?
Gosh, I mean, I appreciate the time just to talk about this stuff. I mean, I know that you're kind of in the enhanced comfort department of riding. These folks that get on a bike and they plug in, maybe they'll take that Wild Ass tour and come check us out at one of our races this summer. Once our schedule's up, we can let you know. Maybe you could post it and have a ride there.
I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Have you guys come in, and obviously I think, like I've mentioned to you, what you did with that out of body experience riding your motorcycle that far, that's testament to what your seat can do for your riding. But man, that's just a lot of intestinal fortitude. I tip of the cap to you again for that. It's badass.
Thank you. That brings us to my favorite part of the show. Have you listened to this show before?
I've gotten through most of it. What are we going to do now, game?
5 questions. Yep.
All right.
So 5 questions, and this is the part, you'd probably tune out by this point, but 5 questions. So these questions are designed just to basically make you think. They're probably things you haven't been asked and things that will make you go, huh. But I love the responses and the variety of answers I get, and it's great, and I'm really looking forward to yours. They're all random. So I put them in, I have 20 questions. I put them in a random wheel, and then I spin the wheel 5 times, and those are the questions you got. So
you got it.
You ready?
Yep.
Question number 1. What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
$100 or less. On that one, I don't even know. Probably I don't even know. A purchase of $100 or less? All right, how about this? It was $20. I bought Brock Glover this weekend at the Hall of Fame a Hall of Fame crest for his office door.
How could he not have one?
Well, he got in the Hall of Fame. We were walking through the thing. He goes, "Oh, these are cool." And they're like those charms you put on your bike.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to buy your own. So I bought him one. So that was my last purchase that made sense like that.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Number 2. What topic would you speak about if you were asked to give a TED Talk on something outside of your main area of expertise?
These are like kind of like profound questions more than like, what's your favorite song or what's your base color,
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many political things that are like turbulent right now. So, maybe something along those lines, but I don't know specifically on what.
Okay. Let's see. Here's another one. This will get you thinking. What do you believe is true even though you can't prove it?
God.
I like it. These are new questions too. These last couple. So nobody's even asked.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, nobody's gotten these answers. Let's see. I like that one. It doesn't matter if I like them or dislike them. They're all good because they're yours. Question number 4. How would you describe motorcycling to somebody that has never ridden on a motorcycle?
For people that have to understand, like you hear the cliche, the sensations of the wind and the sights and the smells, but that's what it is. I mean, it's a panoramic 360-degree view of the world at speed. If you're in the dirt, it's out in the woods or on a motocross track or on an adventure bike or somewhere, and you see things without roofs and pillars and blockades, and your helmet's a good thing, but I'm just saying, you can usually catch, your senses are for sure heightened when you're on a motorcycle. That's it.
Yep, absolutely. And when you mentioned helmet goggles, that is almost completely out of your peripheral vision now.
Yeah, the way it is, that's not it. And your head's like constantly on a swivel, and you just are so much. I just think you should be so much more aware of everything.
Yep, absolutely. Number 5, if you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
One gigantic billboard anywhere, what would it say? Oh gosh. coming to a town near you, the BRL is on the move, and get ready to experience the greatest show on asphalt.
Perfect. So those questions completely just to knock you off your game and see how you handle it.
There you go.
And like I said, I was super excited to ask you these because you're a man very quick on your feet when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of the other stuff, those are a little more like,
Right. Let's see, as we wrap this up, do you have any asks or requests of the audience of the show?
Yeah, honestly, if they could, I know all this social media stuff's based on algorithms. If they could give us a like, a share, a comment, something. We got a merch store too, so go check that out at our BRL Speed Shop. So go pick up some hats and T-shirts and hoodies. They make great Christmas gifts, stocking stuffers, and when you wear them around, people know you're serious about the V-Twin lifestyle.
And go through that list again. Where can we follow you?
Bagger Racing League on Facebook, Bagger Racing League on Instagram, baggerracingleague.com, and the Bagger Racing League Speed Shop.
All Bagger Racing League. Do you have any last parting words?
I just hope that everybody out there has a great holiday season ahead of them, and hopefully at an event here in the near future, you guys say, "Hey, I heard you on the Wild Ass podcast, and I'm over here to check out the BRL," and that would just be awesome.
That would be, and people, you can find Rob wandering any of these shows too. It seems like I see you at all of them, don't I? Like we're always in the same places.
Yeah, I try to stay busy,
Yeah, so flag him down, say hi, tell him you heard him here. That was it for that, folks. If you like what you're hearing, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. You can follow the adventures on Facebook or Instagram by looking for The Real Wild Ass. Of course, I am Wild Ass Craig. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. And, of course, thank you again, Rob, for coming on.
It was a pleasure.